Hi, and welcome to Crafts with Ash. My name's Ashley, and today I am bringing you 3 summer thrift flips that I think you're really going to love. I just recently got into going to thrift stores and shopping for items that I feel that I could bring back to life, and I have really loved doing it. So I can't wait to share my DIYs with you today. But first, if you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that little notification bell so you can get notified anytime I upload a new video. Then join me over on Facebook and Instagram and join my crafting community. All right, let's get started with these summer thrift flip DIYs. So for this first DIY, I picked up this wood plaque from the thrift store, and I honestly don't remember how much I paid, but I know it was not much, and I knew I wanted to make a summer sign. So the first thing I did was give this a really good coat of Waverly chalk paint in white, and I painted the front and all the sides. Next, after that was dry, I took my painter tape and I taped off the perimeter just like a rectangle going around the sign. I made sure the edge of the tape was flush up against the edge on the top and the bottom of the sign, and then because the sign was curved on the other sides, I just kind of eyeballed it, but I just wanted a really good rectangle. After all my tape was down, I took my bright yellow apple barrel paint and I gave the inside of my rectangle 2 coats of that. Once my paint was dry, I took these sticker letters that I got from the Dollar Tree and I spelled out the word sunshine. I started with the S and the H first because they are going to break center, and then I worked my way out on either side. Now, as you can see, I actually ran out of room for the S to fit. So all I did was move my tape over just a little bit, and then I'm going to take that yellow paint and I'm going to paint over it. So I'm just extending the length of my rectangle. Then once my new yellow paint was dry, I went ahead and stuck the S and the E back on. I fixed all my letters so they were all lined up and positioned well. And then once I was confident that I liked how it looked, I pushed down each of my letters. Next, I took that Waverly chalk paint in white and I painted 2 coats over my letters. Once my white paint was dry, I took my little knife and I peeled up each one of the letters. Then I took a small paintbrush and some yellow paint and just made some touch-ups around the letters where there was some bleeding. After that, I took off the painter's tape around my letters. Now, it's kind of hard to see right now, but there was a line where the painter tape was, so I just took my white paint and blended it all in. Next, I took some skinnier washi tape and I outlined around the letters again, and then I'm going to use my ruler to draw some lines. Now, I did also use my ruler to go ahead and measure and make sure that the washi tape was even on the top and the bottom. Real quick, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you really love what you see and choose to stick around for a while by subscribing to my channel. If you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. I have truly loved sharing all of my DIYs with all of you, and I can't wait to share more. After I had my rectangle all taped out again, I took my black paint marker and I outlined the inside of the washi tape. After that, I peeled off the washi tape. Next, I took the sheet of puffy stickers that I got from the Dollar Tree and I painted 2 of them with black acrylic paint. Next, I sanded over my black lines just so it wasn't so bold. After my puffy stickers were dry, I put one on either side of my plaque. To give my words a little more detail, I took the back of a paintbrush and some white paint and I just put polka dots in all of my letters. Next, I took my white paint and I just lightly brushed over my black lines because I decided it was a little dark. Although in a little bit, you're going to see me go back over it with my black marker because I decided it was a little too light. After that, I took a pencil and I just freehand in cursive the word hello right in the middle of the word sunshine. Once I decided I liked that, I took my black paint marker and traced what I had written. And here we go with my indecisiveness. I'm tracing over my black line again because I decided it was too light. And honestly, I kept going back and forth. I couldn't decide whether I liked it more bold or lighter. So you're gonna have to let me know in the comments which one you liked better. Next, I took that yellow paint and I painted around the edges of my sign. And here we go. I'm sanding the lines down once again. And then I also sanded the word down so that wasn't so bold. Like I said, I really could not decide, so I just kept going back and forth. After that, I took my Waverly Antique Wax and my favorite distressing brush and I dry brushed over the entire sign just to make it look a little bit more rustic because you know me, I love that look. And after that was done, this sign was complete. I really love how this came out. I didn't put a hanger or anything on it because it could be like a really cute shelf sitter, but I really love the bright colors mixed with the rustic look. But you're gonna have to let me know, what do you think? For my next DIY, I picked up this item from the thrift store and I believe it is a trivet. There's like a big tile in the middle, but I decided that I was going to make this into a sign instead. So what I did was I taped off the perimeter, the wood around it, so I could go ahead and paint the inside. I really had a tough time trying to get this tile out, so instead of fighting it, I just decided to do this instead. After it was all taped off, I gave this 2 really good coats of white Waverly chalk paint. So when I started creating this, I really didn't know where I was going with it. I just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna do something to it and it'll come to me. So I'm going to take you through the journey of how I came to the final product. And the reason why I kept this all in here is because I wanted to show you that we as crafters don't always know what we're doing either. And sometimes it takes us making mistakes to get to what we actually want. After my white paint was dry, I took some washi tape and I taped down this stencil to help keep it secure. And then I took black acrylic paint and this stenciling brush and I stenciled this stencil on my sign in the middle. And I also forgot to mention that I actually got these stencils in a pack from the Dollar General. After that, I went ahead and I pulled up all of the tape to reveal my stenciled art underneath. But what ended up happening was there was a lot of bleeding. It did not turn out great. I don't know if I did it wrong or what, but this was a fail. So after that, I wiped it off with a baby wipe and then I painted over it with white chalk paint again. Then I took a different stencil and I saw a method where if you put Mod Podge over the stencil first, that it really helps with the bleeding. So after my Mod Podge was dry, I went through and I stenciled in the black acrylic paint one more time. Then after that was done, I went ahead and peeled up the tape one more time and my stencil, and it worked a little better. There was some bleeding, but it definitely wasn't perfect. Then to clean up all of my letters, I went through with a black Sharpie and just outlined all of my words just to make it look a little cleaner. After that, I brushed over the words with my white brush and I dry brushed over it. So I lightly did it just to make it look a little bit more rustic. Then I took these rub-on transfers that I got from the Dollar Tree and I rubbed them on, and these were so easy to do. I really loved the quality of these rub-on transfers. So I just kind of created a little bouquet of leaves, I guess, down at the corner and then up at the opposite corner. So I just rubbed them all on until I liked it. This is your friendly reminder that if you're loving what you see today, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Not only does it help my channel to grow, but it also tells YouTube that you're loving my content and that you want to see more. So YouTube will put it in your suggested videos and on your homepage. So don't forget to hit that like button. After my rub-ons were down, I dry brushed over those with the white chalk paint as well. Then I took my Waverly Antique Wax and I brushed over the edges with that using a makeup sponge, and then I also hit the inside of that as well. Next, I pulled off all of the tape, revealing the wood around it. And I'm thinking that this project is done, but as I'm looking at it, I decided I really hated it. So this was a fail. So, third time's a charm. What I did was I painted over the stencil part with my white chalk paint, and I left the rub-ons on there because I thought maybe I could use them. But then I remembered that I had this amazing calendar that I got from the Dollar Tree, and it's new, and I love the colors and the messages on each one of the pages. So what I did was I just went through and I picked out the one that I wanted to use, and I decided to go with the message that said, "Enjoy the simple things." I really loved the colors in that, and I thought that the wood around the tile would really complement it. So what I did was I put the paper on top and then I traced over it, because remember, I couldn't at this point get the tile out. And then I used my fingernail to trace around, and then I cut it out. Then I used my Mod Podge and I put on a nice thin and even layer, and then I just simply pushed my calendar page on top of that. Next, I used my little knife to cut off the excess paper, and it was really easy to do because I was able just to follow the little gap in between the wood and the tile, so it was really easy. But then I really wanted to make sure that the tile had nice clean edges, so I pushed really hard on the tile, and I was finally able to get it away from the frame. Next, to give it that nice clean edge, I took my sanding block and I sanded all the edges in the down direction. After that, I put a coat of Mod Podge on top of my paper to protect it from coming up. Then I put my tile back into the frame. Now somehow I got some paint around the frame, so I decided to sand down the wood a little bit just to make it a little lighter and also to get that paint off of there. But then I took my Waverly Antique Wax and I went around the edges of my tile. That way it blended in all of the sides, and also, of course, so it gave it that rustic look. Now you can see some wrinkles in my calendar page, so I decided just to sand over it, and if it ripped a little bit, I was okay with that because, again, it gave me that rustic look that I really love. I did forget to mention that I should have done this Waverly Antique Wax before I put the Mod Podge on. So if you're going to recreate something like this, I would highly recommend that you put the wax on first and then Mod Podge over it. Next, I dry brushed over the wood with my white chalk paint just a little bit, just to give it a little bit more dimension and character. Then to blend everything in, I sanded it down. I cannot believe it took me 2 attempts to get to my final product. So that just goes to show that you can always fix your mistakes, or if you don't like it, don't be afraid to just redo it and go for another idea. I really love how this came out, and aren't you glad that I didn't leave it with that second attempt? I really did not like it. It just was not colorful enough. It wasn't me, but I love this. What do you think? Now, for my last DIY, I'm actually going to be making something for my daughter. She'd recently got a new bike for her birthday, and she really wanted a basket in the front. So I remember that I had thrifted this basket a while ago, so I went in my stash and I got to work. So the first thing I did was I used my big knife to cut off the handle because we're not going to be using it. Now, the top of this basket is a little rough, but I will be doing something about that, especially because it will be for a child. But the first thing I did was give this entire basket a good coat of Waverly chalk paint in white. Now, I should have painted the inside of the basket at this point, but for some reason I decided I wasn't going to do that, but I will go back and repaint it. After that, I took some pink parfait apple barrel paint and I painted the top strip with that. Now, again, I will be changing my mind, but for now, this is what I did. Next, I took some folk art, I believe it's folk art, hot pink or magenta paint, and I started painting the bottom of the basket with that. But then once I thought about it, I remembered that her bike is more light pink and white. So I didn't really want a lot of magenta because I feel like it would clash. So what I did was I wiped off the magenta as much as I could, and then I just decided to paint the entire basket with that pink parfait paint. Then I went in with that magenta paint and I painted the top strip of my basket. While my basket was drying, I took this wood piece that I actually got out of a big package of just wooden shapes from the Dollar Tree, and I gave it a really good coat of that magenta paint. Next, I took these sticker letters, and I saw this method that if you put it on something that the stickers wouldn't adhere to and then line them up, you can actually push them down and then just peel it off. So that way it keeps all of your letters lined up. I have to say it worked pretty well. I might not have been using the best thing for this method, but it did help me keep all my letters straight and lined up. So I'm going to spell out Princess on board. So I used that same method to put my words on board on my sign as well. After my stickers were all pushed down, I took that Waverly chalk paint and I painted my entire sign. After my sign was dry, I used my little knife to peel up all of my stickers. Next, I took these really cute half pearl stickers and I put them all around the perimeter of my sign. I really love this because I think that it added that girly touch. After that, I took the bottom of a paintbrush and I dipped it in that pink parfait paint and I just gave this little sign some cute little polka dots. Next, I took that magenta paint and I painted the sides of my sign. Then I took a smaller paintbrush and I dipped it in that magenta paint and gave the sign even more cute little polka dots. Now, to solve the problem of it being a little bit rough up top and I don't want it to hurt my daughter, I took this really cute duct tape that I got at the Dollar Tree, and it just so happened to be silver and really colorful and pretty, and I just went ahead and stuck it over the top of my basket. That way she wouldn't get cut on the wood. It didn't matter how much I would sand it down, or it was actually kind of hard to sand it down. It still was really rough and had some jagged edges, so I wanted to do this to protect her from getting cut. Then this is where I decided to go ahead and paint the inside of my basket with that white paint. Then finally, I took this super glue and some hot glue, put it on my little sign, and then I glued it right in the front of the basket. I think this basket came out super adorable and my daughter absolutely loves it. She gets to put all of her little figurines and toys and things and take them for a ride on her bike. Now, of course, this is not meant to last forever, and I'm sure after a couple times of her falling over, this will probably pop off. But I just wanted to give her something that she could use now, and it worked out perfectly because I just used zip ties to attach it to the bike, and she loves it. But what do you think? Even though some of these projects were quite a challenge, I really loved how all of these came out. If you've been following me for a while, you know I'm not really a farmhouse girl. I need some color in my life, and I think that each of these projects added just that. I'm gonna have to say my favorite is probably the princess basket because I see how happy it made my daughter. Plus, I am kind of a girly girl who loves pink, so that's just close to my heart. But you're gonna have to let me know down in the comments which one was your favorite, or any ideas that you might have done with these pieces that I got from the thrift store. Also, let me know if you like these thrift flip videos. I am new to doing these kind of projects, but I've really grown to love them. It takes me out of my box and makes me think of different ways to DIY. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you were inspired and got some ideas on how you can flip some thrifts. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, then hit that notification bell so you can get notified anytime I upload a new video. Also, please hit that like button because, like I said, it really helps my channel to grow. Well, until I see you again, I'll craft with you soon. Bye!